As you guys know, I usually do videos on players to look forward to or games to look forward to pertaining to the specific week, and we will continue those videos in the future. But for today's video though, we're going to focus on the NFL draft and what NFL teams picking in the top 5 to 10 picks will do in late April. This draft class will be incredibly fun to watch, as we have the best quarterback prospect in a decade, a few other good quarterback prospects, and many other very talented players. What makes this class particularly interesting is not only the hype surrounding Trevor Lawrence, but the players that chose to opt out of the season and how they will be viewed by NFL teams. I've seen comments in recent videos to do draft related videos, and they will gradually sprinkle in over time, as this will be the first of many. This NFL season is obviously more unique than any other season, and while people will say this season doesn't count or counts less, and by the way that's usually from people whose teams are not playing good and it's a convenient excuse, anyways, the 2021 draft will be critical for a team's future success. It will be different in the sense of having less game film, and because of that I think the draft will be more hit or miss than it usually is. The first round is where franchise cornerstones are drafted, and we're going to discuss the intentions of the teams picking in the range from picks 2 to 10 in area in today's video. Before we start though, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as each only take a second to do, and all support is very much appreciated. Now let's begin. And we're going to start today's video off with this. The New York Jets are a horrendous football team, and in my opinion they are in the conversation for being the worst NFL team of all time. So what I'm saying is they are guaranteed to take Trevor Lawrence with the first pick in the 2021 draft. Now, I don't think any other team will lose more games than the Jets, mainly because that would require the Jets winning multiple games. I don't know if they'll go winless, but I do think they will have less than 2 wins on the whole season. Now, could Trevor pull a move like John Elway or Eli Manning did and say, I'm not playing for this franchise? Yes, he very easily could, and quite honestly, I wouldn't blame him if he did. He'd be going to a team with a terrible head coach, though I will add, I think it's safe to say Adam Gase is fired by then. When Gase is fired by the Jets, they will still be owned by a terrible owner in Woody Johnson, and if Trevor wouldn't want to play for them, how could you get mad at him? This team is horrendous from top to bottom, but for the sake of this video, we are assuming Trevor goes there and the draft starts at number 2 overall. As I make this video, the draft order from 2 through 5 goes the Giants, the Jags, the Dolphins through the Texans pick, and the Cowboys. The Giants selected a tackle in the top 5 of the 2020 draft, Andrew Thomas out of Georgia for nobody that knows, so I highly doubt they go after Penei Sewell of Oregon here. Now, Daniel Jones was selected in the 2019 first round, and whether this is fair or not, the Giants will be looking at quarterbacks in the 2021 draft. They're not a great team by any stretch of the imagination, but they are compared to the winless Jets. They played the Bucs on Monday night and played them very tight at that, and were a failed 2-point conversion away from taking them to overtime. So this is a team in reality that was a few mistakes from Daniel Jones away from competing with a team that people think, myself included, will represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. For as competent as this team looks at times, there's a reason they are selecting in the top 5, and really consistently at that. And Daniel Jones isn't exactly a Patrick Mahomes on a Jets roster player, as he has turnovers in every game but one of his NFL career. If the Giants wind up with the number 2 overall pick, I would be shocked if they don't take Justin Fields, as he is having a great season for Ohio State through 2 games and projects to get better. This applies to pretty much every team but the Dallas Cowboys or the Cincinnati Bengals for the number 2 overall pick while we're at it. But we are moving to the number 3 pick, which at this point in time belongs to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Jaguars were widely projected a few months ago to have Trevor Lawrence, but won a few games and now sit at 3rd overall. The Jags are simply put a bad NFL franchise. They've had their fair share of players like Jalen Ramsey, Allen Robinson, Myles Jack, and everyone in between, but this team has picked in the top 10 in every draft since 2008 but one, which of course was in 2018, the year after they went to the AFC Championship game, and haven't had a true franchise quarterback since. They've swung and missed multiple times by drafting first-round quarterbacks like Blaine Gabbert and Blake Bortles. Now, I'm sure they would love to draft in the top 2 as we sit in early November, and it looks like they are doing everything they possibly can to achieve that. They are starting Jake Luton, and I really don't know how to pronounce that, so Luton maybe. Anyway, they're starting him with Gardner out with an injury. I wish the best in Gardner's recovery, but I also question, and I want to get this clear, I don't question Gardner's toughness one bit. I question the organization's commitment to winning. I truly think Gardner would be willing to play through just about anything, whether it be a torn ACL or a broken leg if he could somehow get cleared, and that includes an injury on his throwing thumb. The Jaguars are in a perfect position to tank with a not good roster, and they're in a market where the fans aren't known, like Cowboys fans or Steelers fans, to be prevalent everywhere. And what I mean by that is, you're not going to go to a local grocery store in Iowa or in Missouri or wherever, and more than likely at least, you're not going to run into a Jags fan. They're a really low market team, and I think if they were trying to tank, they could pull it off more successfully than other NFL teams. If they do end up picking 3rd overall, then they very well could go with Penei Sewell out of Oregon, or they could go with Trey Lance. And in the next 5 months or so, we could have multiple players rise the way we did last year, and Joe Burrow was already the #1 pick at this point in time, to be clear, but we could have players like Zach Wilson from BYU rise up the board. It will be interesting to see how this plays out, as usually Jacksonville selects high, but not usually this high. Now, I don't really want to say credit to them for being bad, as they almost always are, but I guess in a way credit to them for usually not being bottom 3 or 4 teams bad. And next at number 4 is the Miami Dolphins. As I make this video, Tua is coming off of his first NFL start, and while he didn't look great in the process, I'm not overreacting and saying they're going to be targeting a quarterback in April. Tua had just 93 yards on 22 attempts Sunday, which simply put is not good, but credit to the Dolphins for ultimately winning the game. Unless Tua looks absolutely abysmal in the next 2 months, there is no way they target a quarterback in the first round, and that's really all there is to it. They just traded Isaiah Ford to the Patriots, and if they end up selecting in the top 5 with Houston's pick, which is this pick, I would be surprised if they didn't go receiver. Giving Tua a weapon to work with would make him and the team better, and what better player for them to target than Jamar Chase out of LSU. Jamar sat out this year, and I don't blame him for doing so. He caught over 80 passes last year and had an incredible 20 touchdown receptions. He won the Biletnikoff Award, which is for the best receiver in college football. Now, as he did that, there were receivers that we see making plays every week now, like Justin Jefferson, Jerry Jeudy, and of course CeeDee Lamb. He is viewed as a better prospect than his former teammate Justin Jefferson was, and we see seemingly every week how good Jefferson is. Ideally for Miami in this situation, they could get a team to trade up for a quarterback if one is available, and snag an extra 3rd or something along those lines. But I don't think they'll be selecting this high to begin with come April, because I do think the Texans are going to win more games down the stretch. And when it's all said and done, I think Miami will be selecting in the 10 to 15 area with one pick and the 14 to 18 area with the other. But for today's video, they're selecting Jamar Chase and giving Tua a big weapon at number 4 overall. And the final pick for today's video that we'll discuss in depth is the Cowboys at number 5 overall. Now, they're in a tricky situation as Dak went down with a season-ending injury, and the future of him and his health at this point is unknown. I would like to think the Cowboys see how good they had it with him and give him a long-term extension, but in the NFL you really never know. If one of the top quarterbacks ends up falling to Dallas, obviously Trevor will not, then they very well could take one, but I don't think they will. And if you're still watching at this point in the video, I'm going to tell you something that may surprise you, it really won't, but the Cowboys defense is atrocious, and with players like Patrick Surtain and Gregory Rousseau in this class, I would be surprised if they didn't take one of those guys. Now, Rousseau isn't a Chase Young caliber prospect, as those are extremely rare, but he is a great prospect in his own rights. Simply put, I would be shocked if the Cowboys didn't take a defensive player here, because as we've seen through several games, they need some serious help. DeMarcus Lawrence has taken a step back since he got paid, and if they ended up taking Rousseau, maybe that would light a new fire underneath of him and get him back to the player he was pre-contract extension. That's of course hoping for the best, but as we sit in early November with the Cowboys selecting in the top 5, the pick has to be Surtain, Rousseau, or even a player like Micah Parsons. As for picks 6 through 10, this will obviously depend on how the first 5 shake out. We know pick number 1 now, but 2 through 5 is obviously a toss-up, but unless a serious injury happens, then Justin Fields will go at some point in there, and more than likely at number 2. And an NFL team will sell themselves on Trey Lance in more than likely the top 5 or 10 picks at the latest. As we said, Zach Wilson from BYU is shooting up the draft boards, so we very easily could have 4 quarterbacks taken in the top 10 picks. There's really only a few teams at this point in time that will 100% not take a quarterback, and those are the Bengals, the Chargers, and more than likely, unless something catastrophic happens, the Dolphins. Notice I didn't include the Falcons, who are selected to pick at number 6 overall right now. Matt Ryan will be 36 next May, and they very well could pull a move the Packers did this past year. It wouldn't surprise me if they did, but I'm also not counting on it. And it will be interesting to see how this all plays out, and we will, barring major injuries of course, probably have 4 quarterbacks taken in the top 10. The Patriots are slotted to draft at number 9 overall right now, and with how their season is going, a quarterback could definitely be their pick. And number 10 right now is the Vikings, and if you want to call me biased, then go ahead, but they're not going to draft a 10 in April unless they trade up. They're 2 points away from being a 4-3 team with 1 point losses to the Seahawks and Titans, and they have several games down the stretch that they will win. Kirk Cousins' contract also binds them up, and because of that, they will not select a quarterback. The 2021 draft will be more different than any other one we have seen, but it will be very interesting to see how it all plays out between now and then. I think it's fair to say we will have one or the other, and I don't know which yet, but more busts or more successes as first-round picks. And if it turns out like that, then this draft could be the blueprint for how to build an NFL team for years to come, or how to not draft busts for years to come. And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. There will be some new things to the channel in the coming weeks, so keep your eyes open for what's going on. Please let me know what you think in the comments, and if you're still watching, I appreciate the time out of your day. Please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as each only take a second to do, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day.